we play a game?
Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Radio, Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for joining me. Really glad to have you, whether you're listening live over the air in the Little Rock, Central Arkansas area on 96.5 FM The Answer, or if you're listening via the live stream at 96.5fmtheanswer.com, or if you're listening delayed via the podcast or on Krypton Radio. I'm so glad to have you. I'm always glad to have you as we journey into the things we love and generally get our geek on for an hour. Got a great show today, as always, but today's even extra special, crunchy special, because returning to the show, and I'll introduce our guest here in a moment after the housekeeping notes, returning to the show is Elminster himself, Ed Greenwood. That's big stuff right there. So remember, this is live talk radio. It's talk radio, just like sports talk radio or political talk radio, religious talk radio, or how do I grow my garden talk radio, but it's geek talk radio. So if you would like to talk to Ed or Richard Lee Byers, author Richard Lee Byers, who is no stranger to readers of Forgotten Realms books, or if you want to talk to Geoff Gander, who's the editorial director for the Ed Greenwood Group Games. There's some really cool stuff we're going to be talking about today. Like I said, I'll introduce them here in a moment. But if you want to talk to them yourself, you can call in at 501-823-0965. That's 501-823-0965. Or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. That's ShanePlays. Not Shane's Place, like where Shane hangs out. Shane Plays, like Shane likes to play. Shane Plays. So also the show notes and links are up on shaneplays.com right now. So if you want to know more about our guests or, how to get to Onder Librum, which is just an overall very creative, cool venture, or the Ed Greenwood Group, then you can go to shaneplays.com right now and learn more about that, or the very brief, only 2 news items that we have today. And last week's show is on the blog, as well as the various podcast venues. We talked to Neil Adams. That's right, comics legend Neil Adams. We talked with him about some really interesting geological research he's done for about 30 years. And he has an alternative theory of how about the fundamental nature of the earth. And yes, we did talk comic books. And as I said last week, keep an ear out and an eye out on my Twitter feed, because there's the full version of that interview with Neil Adams coming soon, because it was the interview I did with him was too long for the radio show. So there will be the full version of that has even more discussion of comic books and what he thinks about the current DC superhero movies, in addition to his geological research. The podcast, the show does go out as a podcast a few days after the live show. It's the best of both worlds. It's live talk radio plus a podcast, which I love, both mediums. That'll go out on the blog at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and many other fine podcast directors. And last but not least, never least, Shane Plays is also carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is SciFi for your Wi-Fi, kryptonradio.com. And that is, we're replayed a week delayed on Saturdays and Mondays on Krypton Radio. Okay, housekeeping notes out of the way. A wizard is always on time because he shows up exactly when he means to. But I am not going to delay this wizard anymore. You don't delay. You don't keep Elminster and his friends waiting in the wings. We've got Ed Greenwood. Ed, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Man, I'm really glad to have you back on the show. We've had the Ed Greenwood Group on before talking about Helmaw, which is one of your settings. And then we did another show talking about Storm Talons, which is one of your settings. And if I understand correctly, today we're going to be talking about the Realms.
Yes, Realms, the Forgotten Realms.
The Forgotten Realms.
Or rather, the Forgotten Realms at TEGG.
At TEGG.
Of course, the Forgotten Realms is still owned by Wizards of the Coast.
Right.
And the stuff for the Realms now comes out either from Wizards or licensees that they, like WizKids and so on, or digitally from the Dungeon Masters Guild
Right.
front website for Drive-Thru RPG.
Which is a really cool venture that people can publish using Wizards of the Coast IP online digitally in a revenue sharing, and it's a great thing.
Anyone can do it, including us.
Yeah,
That's how we're doing it, but you can too. Anybody at home can do it.
I would say though that yourself and your friends bring a little bit more pedigree and history than maybe some other folks. So we've also got Richard Lee Byers on the phone. Richard, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. How you doing?
Good. Glad to talk to you. You are no stranger to the Forgotten Realms. You have quite the bibliography, not just as an author, but for writing within the realms. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I was trying to. I was in my head trying to count up how many Realms novels I've written. I think it's around 17, maybe.
Yeah, it's quite a few. I think you started in 2000, so you've almost got 2 decades. You've almost got 2 decades of the Realms under your belt. And so glad to have you, Richard. Looking forward to talking about what you're going to be contributing to the Realms at TEGG. And then we have Geoff Gander. I'm assuming I'm saying that right. Geoff, are you with us?
You are.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Geoff. And you're the editorial director for TEGG Games, the Ed Greenwood Group.
That's right.
Okay. Well, before we move forward, and I'm going to do a couple of quick news items. Before you do that, Ed, do you want to kind of remind folks what Onder Librum is and what the Ed Greenwood Group is?
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Onder Librum is a website. Ta-da! OnderLibrum.com. And Onder Librum is where you can most easily see all the stuff that the Ed Greenwood Group is doing. Onder Media Group is an ally of us, and we have they have audio dramas and stuff planned and other stuff planned for the future, but at the moment they're hosting all of us. And the Ed Greenwood Group is, well, okay, I've been doing the Realms for 50-plus years.
Wow.
And part of that has been, because I have a real-life day job and all the rest of it, that means I have at times been tearingly busy. There was one year, I think it's 1985, but, it's all a blur now, in which I wrote 11 products for TSR.
Wow.
And commuted 100 miles each way every day to my day job. So
uphill both ways in the snow?
What day is it? What's my name?
Yeah. What who?
Yeah, well, so I was doing a lot of spiking of ideas, as in putting them on a spike on a desk. As all longtime journalists know, there were metal spikes on desks that you could drive your hand onto. But you were supposed to use them for putting paper on, little notes for later.
Yeah.
This was before, we had computers and stuff.
Right. People used to do the same thing with receipts in stores.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, we actually put paper in places because, hey, we might need them again, like when the IRS wanted them.
Right.
So you put them somewhere. And I had been doing this for 50 years, and a lot of them were ideas of things I want to do that wouldn't fit in the Realms. Modern-day murder mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost stories that didn't use ghosts that were part of the D&D game rule set. Comedies that, occasionally I would sort of be able to sneak something into a Realms novel or gasp a game adventure.
Right.
But usually the editors were going, oh, that's not funny, or that's not what we're doing here. We need the word count for more crunch.
Right.
So all this stuff would get spiked, and I am now getting old. Not as old as some, but old. So I want to do some things on my bucket list before I die. And one of them was to play with friends in a lot of new settings.
Okay.
And that's what TEGG is about. The Ed Greenwood Group is a transmedia group to publish internationally in all sorts of different languages and all sorts of different formats, stories of all sorts, so audio, games, interactive storytelling, and fiction in a whole bunch of different settings. So I invited a lot of friends, and I invited just anybody as well to join the Sensorium so I can make new friends, so we can all play in these new settings together.
And that's
so
how I met.
Collaborative.
That's how I met you and the Ed Greenwood Group was through Greg Wilson, who's doing some work for Helm Storm Talons, if I remember right.
That's right, yeah. We would be on panels at science fiction conventions together over the years, and so when I started this, he was one of the people I said, hey, Greg, you want to do this? And a lot of people, and your other two guests are among them.
Yeah, they came along for the ride. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. I want to, and Onder Librum, like you said, is doing more than just books or whatever. There's actually, I think, is it Dave Robison, I think his name is? He actually reached out to me regarding Onder Librum Radio, which is doing like a cool podcast. So there's multi things going on, not only with Onder Librum, but also the Ed Greenwood group. And today we're going to be talking about, I think the main focus is the gaming materials you're going to put out that are Realms related, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, and that's why Geoff is here. He is new helming our stuff. Yay, Geoff! That's pretty cool, actually. And we'll get into that here in a second. I want to throw out a couple of quick news items. I normally do a full news segment, but I'm not doing one today because I want to make sure to give plenty of time to you three. But I do have to mention, I'm sure we're all aware of this by now, but Bill Paxton passed away this week at the age of 61. He's one of those people that played in a lot of movies that are well known, and then also they liked his character. He's extremely well known for the character of Hudson from Aliens, but he did many other. He had leading roles in movies. He was a main character in a TV series that's on right now. He was in Titanic. A lot of people forget that. He was the person at the beginning that they dived the Titanic and found the gem and asked the lady about it. He was in a lot of stuff. He was in I think somebody said he has the distinction of, I think he's the only character that got killed by an alien, a predator, and a Terminator. So, but evidently reading up and what people say about him, he was a really cool guy, outside of movies as well. But I love Bill Paxton. I love so many of the characters. He was Shet in Weird Science, if people remember that, the older brother in Weird Science. So he just had a lot of really great roles, and he was also a filmmaker himself. So I've had way too many of these lately, but we're going to do a quick moment of silence for Bill Paxton. We're going to break the rules in radio and have a moment of silence for him. And that was a moment of silence for Bill Paxton, an actor who had many beloved roles, seemed like a really cool guy. I guess when he met his future wife in England, she said, "Are you an American?" He said, "No, ma'am, I'm a Texan." So that'll kind of tell you a little bit about Bill Paxton. So I'm gonna miss him, and this is a perfect excuse to go back and watch some of the movies that he was in, because they're just great movies, and he brought a lot to them. Also, as a quick, super quick news item. The Matturday, like Saturday, but with Matt, M-A-T-T, the Matturday podcast interviewed me for some strange reason a couple of weeks ago. The link is up on the show notes at shaneplays.com, or you can look for Matturday on SoundCloud. And this guy's interviewing a lot of really interesting people. So I would definitely go check out the Matturday podcast. All right, with those news items out of the way, let's get back to our guests. We have Ed Greenwood, Elminster himself, creator of the Forgotten Realms and contributor to the Forgotten Realms, who just told us a fib that he's getting older, and one day that he's got a bucket list he's going to work on. Old wizards never die, Ed. They just go to a different plane. So you're fibbing a little bit.
Some of us can't afford that airline.
Oh, okay. Well, and then we got Richard Lee Byers, who is a fantasy author and has written many novels within the Forgotten Realms setting. And then we have Geoff Gander, who's the editorial director for TEGG Games, the Ed Greenwood Group, and that's what we're talking about today, is new Realms, Forgotten Realms gaming material from the Ed Greenwood Group. So that's big. Not only do we get more Forgotten Realms stuff, but it's connected to Ed Greenwood and people like Richard Lee Byers. So, guys, tell us about it. Whoever wants to go first. What are the plans? What's going on?
Geoff, do you want to take this, or do you want me to just run through and then toss to you to talk about this?
Absolutely. I'm happy to dive in. Well, Shane, what we've got is a patron program.
Okay.
to celebrate the realms and to let people know that TEGG is very much involved in Forgotten Realms. So what we've decided to do is we're opening the door to all the fans of the setting. And it's very much in line with TEGG's philosophy, where we work with the readers and the players, and we all sort of enjoy the world, and we all sort of make it better. So we have the creatives who are creating the materials, we have the fans, and we're going to be interacting with them. The patron program is one example of that. So what we're doing is, and this has just gone up live on our website right now, and I've sent you the link.
Ah, I'll add it to the podcast version show notes.
That would be absolutely marvelous.
Yeah.
So fans have until the end of March, so March 31st, to submit a proposal for an adventure set in the region of the realms that we're covering. Now, I just want to stress that we're developing the areas, we're following along with Mert's Adventures, so which is, as you know, Mr. Greenwood is working on right now as we speak. Every year he releases an adventure about Mert and what he's doing in the lesser-known and lesser explored regions of the realms.
Right.
And this year, the focus of this one adventure slot that we're opening up is Ormpur. So we have a forum live on the website right now, where any interested fan can let us know who they are, how we can get a hold of them, and then provide a brief elevator pitch. What's this adventure about? How cool is it? Mm-hmm. How are people going to love this? And how does Ormpur feature in it? And most importantly, why they want to write with us. So essentially, this is an opportunity for a fan to work with Mr. Greenwood to write an adventure set in the Forgotten Realms.
Wow, that's exciting. Okay, so when you say it's up on your website right now, is that on the Onder Librum, or is that on the Ed Greenwood Group website, or where if people are listening and want to go immediately, like which website would they go to?
I'm happy to tell you. Yeah. It's realms.theedgreenwoodgroup.com.
Excellent.
And if you go on that website right now, there's a prominent button right at the top that says Contest. Click on it, and it'll take you to the page.
Excellent. Okay, so that's...
And the form is right there. The template's there, and you can just jump right in and submit your brilliant proposal to Mr. Greenwood and send it away. And what will happen is Mr. Greenwood, at the end of the period, after March 31st, will review all the pitches that have gone in, and he'll select the one that he loves the most. And that lucky fan will get 3 creative chats with Mr. Greenwood. So it's one-on-one discussions about the adventure idea. They'll get some tips from the master himself on how to craft that adventure to make it a winning one. And then that fan will get to work and write it. Mr. Greenwood's not going to write it for them, but he'll work with them.
Yep, I see it right now. I've got the website pulled up. That's really exciting. So that's realms.theedgreenwoodgroup.com. You can basically, send in, hey, here's how to contact me if you want to follow up. Here's an elevator pitch of what I want to do. And then after March 31st, Ed will pick somebody to work with, and they get 3 personal, basically consulting sessions with Ed on writing this adventure. But then they write the adventure. Ed doesn't.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at...
This is the fans' chance to shine.
And when it gets published, it'll be published via the DMs Guild, correct?
It'll be published by TEGG on the One Bookshelf
One Bookshelf. Okay, very cool. I'm seeing this right now. I've got the website pulled up. That's cool. So, and now, Ed, I know that you don't want to limit creativity, or you don't want to, maybe say, here's how to get my attention or whatever. But is there any particular things that might help people stand out?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, the approach we're taking at TEGG is to do short, small, self-contained adventures that might fill 1 to 3 play sessions, depending on how quickly a playing group moves. Okay? And we would like these adventures to be interesting, intriguing, not just kill the monster, open the door into the next room, kill the next monster. Okay? We want these to be easily adaptable to any rule system, because, gamers love to do their own rule systems, and They fight constantly about which edition of which of the major published ones is the best one, or they pick and choose rules from this and that and the other thing. That's just part of being a gamer. And in order to accommodate that, because, hey, we're all gamers, we'd like adventures that are easily adaptable, and the way to do that is to keep the adventure simple, clearly told, and focus on plot, or if you prefer, story. Okay, so it can have a Byzantine intrigue of interlocked cabals and people feuding behind the scenes, non-player characters, but what strikes you as you play it should be simple and straightforward.
Right.
Older gamers will remember the early gaming systems where you ended up with a rule book that inevitably disintegrated because of its binding. It didn't have an index to start with, and therefore finding rules was a nightmare. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to do that in terms of having an adventure in front of you where the dungeon master or the game master is constantly going, now, there was something about that. Right. What about that noble family? Where was it?
Right.
We don't want that. We want you to just have a play session so that the actual sequence of events, the adventure that's in front of you, unfolds clearly and logically. At the same time, we want it to be accessible to beginning gamers, so it shouldn't hinge on a lot of rules details. Mm-hmm. The story should carry it. And because we're working in a collaborative world that is not controlled by any of us, the Forgotten Realms, we would like to avoid adventures that kill rulers, bring the gods on stage, split continents, sunder the place again.
Right. Okay.
Richard and I have done that, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and that I've got a listener question that kind of speaks to that. I've got to get us to a break so we can pay the bills. We'll be back in a couple of minutes after the short break. But I've got Jonas Arganiaris from Argentina. It's a salutation from Argentina via Twitter. He's listening in live. And then he's got a question for Ed, which we'll get to after the break. And then also, when we come back, we'll remind people, hey, there's this. Hey, I've got some audio in my. Are you hearing that, Zach? Yeah, hold on a second, guys. There was some kind of warning that we shouldn't have heard, so I don't know where that came from. Live radio, baby. So anyway, when we come back, we'll answer that question, or at least I'll present it to Ed, and then we'll remind people about the contest. And then I want to hear about, what the contest is super cool, but I know you've got some other stuff planned, and then, maybe how Mr. Byers fits into that. So we'll do that when we come back on Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love, 96.5 FM, The Answer. Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today. The die is cast. Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory.
All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions, Castles and Crusades is the original easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/Shane Plays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into things we love, right here on 96.5 FM, The Answer, in Little Rock and Central Arkansas, and around the world via live stream. If you're listening by podcast, we're glad to have you too. Remember the number to call in. I know there's some people out there listening right now that want to call in and talk to Ed Greenwood, but they're intimidated. He's a nice guy. He doesn't bite. You're more than welcome to call in. We got Richard Lee Byers on the phone as well. Fantasy author who's written a lot for the Forgotten Realms. And then we have Geoff Gander, who's the editorial director for TEGG, the Ed Greenwood Group Games. And we're talking today about new role-playing game material in the Forgotten Realms from the Ed Greenwood Group, which is super cool. We just announced, or they announced, and I'm tickled beyond pink that it was announced on my show. I'm going to promote this as much as I can. They've just put up a contest now through March 31st. Go to realms.theedgreenwoodgroup.com. You can enter this contest. Look for the link is on that site. You can submit hey, here's how you can get a hold of me. Here's my idea for an adventure. Ed's going to review all the submissions after March 31st, and he's going to pick one lucky winner. That person will get 3 consulting sessions with Ed, and then they will actually write an adventure that will be published in the Realms from the Ed Greenwood Group. That's big stuff. If you're an aspiring game designer out there, game writer, this is, you do not miss this. So, and like I said, we've also got Richard Lee Byers, who has written for the Realms a lot. So there's other new stuff coming. That this adventure, this contest isn't the only thing, and we'll get more to that here in a second. I did have a question from a listener, Ed. This is directed at you. And he said, and I'll let you interpret this however you want. Here's exactly what he said. This is Jonas Arganiaris from Argentina. He said, I have a question for Mr. Greenwood. In his campaign of Forgotten Realms, did the Time of Troubles happen? So interpret that or answer that how you want to, or not.
In my campaign, the Time of Troubles hasn't happened yet.
Okay, because
we're stuck back in 1357.
So you haven't, your campaign hasn't moved into because the current Forgotten Realms, like I've read some of it from R.E. Salvatore, like Archmage and all that, with the Out of the Abyss, the demon storyline. That's set a few hundred years after the initial Forgotten Realms stuff, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, we're into the late 1490s now.
Yeah,
Death Mask, the novel the last Realms novel I did.
Yeah,
is 1496. I'd have to look at the calendar again.
Yeah.
But we're in the 1490s.
Yeah. So
in current realm state.
So did you yourself, Ed? Did you come up with the dating system for the realms?
I did.
That's so cool.
It's been augmented and shifted and changed by many hands.
Right.
Jeff Grubb, Steve Shend. Steve Shend actually, TSR flew him to my house years ago, and we sat for a weekend making up year names to fill in all the gaps.
Oh, neat. Because every year has a name, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like in the Chinese
So if you wonder what game guys do for fun on downtime, folks, that's what they do. They go to each other's houses and eat and drink far too much and scribble up year names. But anyway,
anyway, so I have to ask you this, as long as I'm digging into the behind the scenes of the realm lore. Speaking of eating and drinking too much, Have you and Bob Salvatore ever arm wrestled to see who would win between Elminster and Drizzt? Has that ever happened? In a fight?
Yes. It's dead simple. Bob Salvatore can take me and probably any 10 game designers in an arm wrestling contest. The man used to be a bouncer.
Did he really?
Okay. He's got bulging muscles that probably all the muscles in my body put together would fit into his bicep.
Wow.
Okay? So he's going to win that contest. However, between Drizzt and Elminster, the winner of the contest comes down to who's writing it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like who gets in the first strike.
Right.
Because if it's Elminster, it's game over.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah. I mean, he's like a walking nuke if he wants to be.
Yeah. So it would depend on the situation. But also, if Elminster had anything to say about the situation, it would never arise because violence would be the last resort, and it would mean everything had failed.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's sort of like having your finger on the nuclear codes. Once you use them, the planet goes away. So you've lost.
Right.
Whether you win or lose, you've lost. So you don't let it. You try as much as you can never to let it come to that situation.
Well, that's a very good example of wisdom over the kids in the playground deciding whether Mighty Mouse would beat Superman. If Mighty Mouse and Superman fight, everything else has failed. So there you go. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks for answering those questions. Jonas, I hope that answered your question. So back to the Realms at the Edward Greenwood Group, Realms at TEGG, which is new role-playing game material set in the Forgotten Realms, which is, I don't even think it's arguably, I think it's definitively, objectively, the most well-known and successful game setting out there. I can't think of one that would eclipse it. So
because we won't walk off the stage.
Yeah, they just won't leave, and they keep batting aside the wooden hook. So no, the Realms is cool. I was actually talking with Chris Perkins one time. He's been nice enough to come on the show a few times. Real nice guy to talk to. And I actually I ran by him. I said, if Dungeons and Dragons had actually been called the Forgotten Realms, right? Would it have had the backlash that it had in the 80s? Because Forgotten Realms has a very tantalizing, adventurous feel to it, but it doesn't have the I'm going to scare the parents to Dungeons and Dragons. You know what I mean? That kind of, I love D&D. I love calling it Dungeons and Dragons, but I wonder if Forgotten Realms had been the name of the game, I wonder if that might not have minimized some of the backlash. I have no idea. It's just one of the things I think about when I'm to show my exciting life when I'm laying in bed late at night. That's the things I think about. So
my hunch is no.
Okay.
And the reason that I would say that is that, as I recall, what got everybody all in a tizzy was that the game had magic, devils, and demons in it, and none of those are in the title Dungeons and Dragons.
This is true.
I don't think a different title really would have helped.
This is true. I'm just saying, I wonder if it like there were multiple, it was a perfect storm of things that came together. I don't know. It's just one of the things to think about. But you're probably right, Richard. That was Richard, right? That
was me.
Okay. So speaking of Richard, okay, we talked about the contest. We talked about the cool this, that, and the other. You can get consults from Ed Greenwood, which is super cool. And, write an official Realms adventure that's published by the Ed Greenwood Group. What else do you have on the plate? And I'm assuming since Richard's on the phone that perhaps you're going to help shape some of this.
Okay, well, actually, you at this point you would be kind of wrong, or at least premature.
Okay.
I'm on the phone, I think, because I'm a grizzled Realms veteran.
Okay.
But I don't currently have any. Realms work in the shoot with TEGG. What I've done so far is I have a Hellmoss short story called The Fishing Hole and a Storm Talons novel called The Ghost of the Stone, both of which are already available, and I hope everybody goes and reads them because I'm very proud of them.
Feel free. Please plug those.
I hope once you do the Realms, it kind of gets in your blood, and I I hope that there's more Realm stuff in my future, and
right.
Through TEGG. Of course, I'm basically a fiction writer, not a game designer, so we would probably need to see the Realms at TEGG grow beyond what is currently there before I would really jump in. But I would be thrilled to see that happen.
Okay, well, cool. Well, so you're here for star power. You're here for draw power. That's what you are, to get those ears listening in. Yeah, to get those ears listening. So, okay.
Richard is also here because he is a perfect example of collaborative storytelling.
Okay.
I mean, the man is a veteran who's worked in all sorts of playgrounds that are shared with others. Like, yes, Storm Talons just did a great book for us. Yes, you should go out and read it. Think of Storm Talons in one way is it's different from the Realms as in it's low magic, or rather controlled magic.
Right.
But if you can't get your Realms fix fictionally right now, go to Storm Talons.
Yeah.
Well, we all wait for fiction, big novels to come back onto the table for the Realms. But Richard has epitomizes walking into the sandbox and playing nice with others, both in Say,
mm-hmm.
and all the Brotherhood of the Griffin stuff, and then in the Sundering. And that's why I want him here, because he is the living, walking example of, you see, you can do this. You can play in somebody else's sandbox and add great things to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
the best thing, the way I've always approached it, for whatever the help this might be to anybody, is like writing a historical novel.
Okay.
I mean, if you were going to write a book about the Old West, you'd want to research the Old West and get all the information right, and that's what I've always tried to do with a Realms book or a Storm Talons book or any shared setting book. Get all the stuff that's canon correct, and then within those parameters, go nuts telling the best story I can.
Right, and I mean some of that some of that approach would roll over to game design.
Sure.
That kind of collaborative
all of it.
Yeah. So Richard, I'm going to ask you a hard-hitting investigative 2020 question.
Okay.
Are you secretly going to enter this contest to get consults from Ed Greenwood on writing a game module?
Actually, no, I'm not. Because it sounds cool, but for one thing, I'm really busy right now.
Yeah.
So that would. But no, I will leave that to the talented up and coming game designers.
Okay. Well,
if Richard wants to consult, all he has to do is pick up the phone.
Okay.
He doesn't have to enter a contest.
So he doesn't have to enter a contest. Okay. He's got the red hotline.
Yeah.
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 Cool. Okay.
Phone.
All right. Well, thanks. Whatever you get up to, Richard, always feel free to reach out and keep me updated. I share geek news items a lot, so I'm always happy to help. I'm always happy to help.
I got a ton of stuff coming out in a couple months. So
I'll mention it. Go ahead. As long as go ahead and throw it out there. What do you got coming out?
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. I've got my second Black River Irregulars novel from Privateer Press in their Iron Kingdoms universe. That's called Black Crowns. That'll be out in a couple months. I've got a collection of my sword and sorcery stories about my character Selden coming out from Rothko Press. Fantasy Flight Games has got a Lovecraftian novella I wrote, a bunch of short fiction here and there, a lot of stuff.
Nice. Okay, well, cool. Well, always keep us updated. And I think, Ed, if I'm not mistaken, I think Greg Wilson's Gray Shade is about to come out in paperback. It's been out in hardback, but I think it's pretty close to coming out in paperback. He told me about that. So
we're working on plans to make everything available, notably through Amazon. So it isn't just going to be ebooks for everything.
Okay. Cool.
We're going to have all formats, including audiobooks. So for the Realms at TEGG, we're planning that everything will come out in English, Portuguese Brazilian,
okay,
e-text, Spanish e-text, and audio narration in English.
Wow. Okay.
And hopefully all at the same time. And right now, we have learned that plans in publishing are carved in quicksand on a stormy beach with the tide coming in. Okay?
Say that again.
So things
I want to
change.
make they're carved on what? Quicksand?
On a stormy beach with the tide coming in.
Okay. Funny.
Okay, but
All right.
but here are our plans right now. So every year, Mert the moneylender,
Right.
fresh off his successes in Death Masks,
Right.
gets sent out of Waterdeep by Laryl to be a roving, a fat, wheezing James Bond knockoff secret agent all over the realms. So he goes through a different place every year. And this first year, it's Ormpur, as Geoff was telling us. He's in the city of Ormpur, which is one of the cities of the sea breeze on the east coast of the Shining Sea, just south of the Border Kingdoms, just north of Shir Teller, and just west of the Wormbones mountain range. It's the city of Saffron. So that's where he is the first year. So out comes a Mert tale from Dungeon Masters Guild. Now, the rules of Dungeon Masters Guild, they're trying to bring out game stuff, not fiction. So if I do a Mert tale, I have to put game stuff in it.
Okay.
Magic items, spells, NPC stats, cool realms lore.
Which, as a gamer, makes me happy.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I mention a poison or a wine or trade goods in a story, I will do them up as if I'm writing a Realms source book. It'll be short, but it'll be there, and it will be part of the story. Then I will write a Mert role-playing adventure every year set in the same spot, same region, the same locale in the realms. Then the Sensorium will members of the Sensorium at TEGG, that's all the creative people who work through TEGG, will write 3 role-playing adventures a year. We're planning February, May, and September for releases. May will coincide with the Ad Astra convention held in Canada's capital, Ottawa. Just north of Toronto. September will be CanCon, which is in Canada's capital, Ottawa. Okay. And that's so I can get to the conventions. Okay. It's all about me. No,
it's just for you. Yeah, it's a vehicle for Ed to travel
from the Sensorium, and then the patron adventure that Geoff was talking about will float. Okay. Because the one thing we do not want to do is fall into the trap of a traditional publishing company where we have promised that X will come out on this date, and if it isn't finished, we're going to bring it out anyway.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. That doesn't contribute to quality.
Be something that we're all pleased with.
Right.
Because, if you're a gamer and you walk into your gaming store, you don't care that somebody did it in an afternoon. You care about what's in it. Right. Whether it's good, whether you like it, can play it, whether you look back on it and saying, that was money well spent. I want to play that again.
Exactly. I agree with that.
I mean, we want to, that has to be job one for us. So every year, right now, we're planning the tale and then 4 releases set in the same area of the world. And the whole point of this is, Mert is this roving secret agent. I'm going to go to corners of the realms that have been neglected thus far. I'm not interested in getting in the way of what Wizards of the Coast is bringing us. And, of course, the good side is I know some of that stuff behind the scenes before everybody else does, so I can stay out of the way. And the other thing is I don't want to be in the way of the Adventurers League adventures that everybody's writing for the Adventurers League and bringing them out. So I'm staying away from Waterdeep. I'm staying away from the Sword Coast at the moment.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, well, that makes sense the way you've laid it out, because there is a lot of focus on there right now.
It's also, I get to do what I've always wanted to do over the years, and what I've always wanted to do over the years is carpet bomb the entire map. And every year we would back in the TSR days, they had what they called the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Where they would kill the products that were on the schedule they just couldn't possibly do because they didn't have enough resources to do everything. So you'd propose all these products. The ones that didn't get shot down right away by whoever was running the division, going, "You're crazy." Well, they'll never go for scratch and sniff gummy bear dragons in the middle of their module. That sort of stuff. If it didn't get shot down at the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, they would go through them and go, "Nope, that's falling off the schedule. Nope, that's falling." And certain products fell off the schedule year after year, got put back on and eventually got made. But I mean, because of that, you can't do everything. And the idea is for me was to get to some of the places in the realms that stayed little more than names, like say Saucel, up in the north. So gamers ask you over the years, so what's in Saucel? So you tell them on a website or whatever, but so he says, well, that's not official, or I want a full adventure. Well, I want a full adventure too. This is our chance to do it.
Right. Well, let me. I hate to interrupt here. I've got to throw some love to a sponsor, but I agree with you, Ed. I mean, the Sword Coast is cool. It's very cool, but in a lot of people's minds, the Sword Coast has become the Forgotten Realms because so much stuff is kind of like focused in that area. So yeah, it's really cool to see you expand that. I'm going to throw a little of it a sponsor. We come back, want to, maybe get some input from Geoff on, how people, if they want to be part of this or whatever beyond just the contest. And also, I was going to ask Ed, Geoff, are either of y'all or Richard, are y'all familiar with Neil Halford? He did the Betrayal at Krondor game and worked with Raymond E. Feist on. They did a Betrayal at Krondor book.
I remember the book.
Yeah, he's a pretty great game designer. I may, if you want, I can put him in touch with you guys. So he's really creative guy. I don't know if you're looking for more members of the Sensorium or whatever, but I'd be happy to put you in touch if you wanted. But let me throw some love at Game Goblins. Some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them at gamegoblins.com. And they have, I just talked to Josh, who's the owner over there. They have a brand new website up. So go check it out at gamegoblins.com. So that's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees. Game Goblins has expanded their store size, so there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. Pretty soon, you'll be playing some of these TEGG or Realms of TEGG products there. Mark my words. So you'll like that space because Game Goblins has events every day of the week. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. They have a customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. So you get a percentage back of the actual money you've been spending. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays, and you can receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast. Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions, Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/Shane Plays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into things we love. Okay, and I've also got a little bit more listener feedback here, guys, from Stephen Shind, SCHEND on Twitter. He said, high fives to all and have fun. So,
Hey, Steve.
yeah. So
Hi, Steve. Yes.
there you go.
Former Helmer of the Realms.
There you go. So glad you're listening in, Steve. You got a lot of listeners. I have a feeling that the live show and the podcast will get well listened to. So every time, Ed comes on, it's just, what are you going to do? It's Elminster. Goodness gracious. All right. So we got about 4 minutes left. Radio goes so fast. Folks, if you've been wanting to call in and say hi to Ed or Richard or Geoff, you just got a couple minutes left to do so. It's 501-823-0965, or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. Real quick. So Geoff, in the closing moments here, and thanks to all of you for being on. I really appreciate it. It's been a great show. Thanks for announcing your contest on the show. I really appreciate that. What, as far as people who are interested, not just for the contest, but like, I'd really like to write. And I know you have the patron program, but if somebody, what's the opportunity there for like maybe an existing game designer to become involved?
Well, they can sort of do exactly what I did, because I was a game designer as well. And every so often, Mr. Greenwood has an intake through Onder Librum.
Okay.
So what I would suggest we do is you follow Onder Librum on Facebook and on Twitter and sign up to any newsletters. And that's the way to find out when the next intake is going to be. Every few months we do one. And we open up the doors and people submit their ideas to us, and then we'll go through those. And if we see someone and we look at them and we say, yeah, this is someone we could really work with, that's when we could send them a non-disclosure agreement, and then we bring them into the fold that way.
Okay, so follow Onder Librum, that's ONDER, separate word, LIBRUM, on Twitter and Facebook. That's your best chance.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
And the people who run the social media presence at Onder Librum are extremely responsive. So you ask them a question, they'll get back to you right quick. The one thing I do want to mention, though, and this is a but wait, there's more thing with this patron program, is the person who gets selected will get membership in the Sensorium of Creatives.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So not only do you get to write a module with being helped by Ed, but you will be treated just like a Sensorium member, and when your product gets in, you will actually be part of the creative fold.
So it's the golden ticket. It
is the golden ticket, but anyone else who wants to join, I would say wait for an intake session and apply.
Okay.
You lose nothing by applying, and we get lots of people coming in. And there's so many worlds to get involved in.
And as a reminder, what we've been talking about today, if people are tuning in maybe after, about halfway through the show on the radio, just got in your car or something like that, the Ed Greenwood Group is publishing new role-playing game content in the Realms via the Realms at TEGG program or initiative. And it will be published via the One Bookshelf. It's all going to be published digitally via, Dungeon Master's Guide, One Bookshelf. But it's, if this is stuff from Ed Greenwood and his crew. So this is about as official as it gets for new Forgotten Realms, beyond like whatever Wizards of the Coast is putting out. So it's really exciting stuff. Guys, Zach gave me about another minute and a half. So he's given us another minute and a half here for you. What, any final thoughts, Ed, Richard, Geoff, and radio, I always like to say it's time is a predator that stalks us all our lives because radio goes so quick. I know there's always more you want to say, but any final thoughts on this? And thanks again for being on today.
Oh, thank you for having us. I've talked too much.
Yeah.
It should be Geoff or Richard. I've talked too much.
Okay. Richard and Geoff, any finals? And then, guys, we have a tradition where I tell the bad joke of the week, so I have to subject you to my bad joke of the week. But first, any final thoughts?
Oh, Richard,
Just
do you have anything?
there's all kind of cool stuff already out from TEGG and Onder Librum. There, Hellmaw is a dark fantasy horror kind of world that's very interesting for anybody that likes that kind of material. Storm Talons is great sword and sorcery. There's all kind of cool new worlds that are becoming. So keep an eye on what we're doing.
Okay. Anything else?
And from my side, I would add that yes, we've got lots of cool stuff gaming-wise coming down the pipe for Forgotten Realms at TEGG. Storm Talons also has some gaming products coming out as well.
Nice. Yeah.
So once you've had your Realms fix, you can come on board and check out what's happening in Storm Talons too.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Realms, but Storm Talons sounds like a really, really interesting setting from what I, heard and from what I've looked into and read, but also what we talked about on the show when we talked about that before. Well, Ed, Richard, Geoff, thanks so much. Folks, remember, go to Realms at the edgreenwoodgroup.com to learn more about what's happening here. New Forgotten Realms role-playing game material from Ed Greenwood and the Ed Greenwood Group, Onder Librum. We're wrapping down here. Guys, I hate to do this. I take no responsibility for any psychological damage from this, but here's the bad joke of the week. Are you ready?
Ready.
Sure.
Okay. All right. How do you get a tissue to dance?
How?
Put a little boogie in it.
Oh.
The worse, the better. Zach, my producer, actually looks like he's about to throw up. Guys, I was going to tell you the one about the roof, but that usually goes over people's heads. So I went with the other one instead. We got a twofer. We got a twofer today. Hey, congratulations with the new stuff on the Realms. Ed, Richard, Geoff, thanks so much for your time. Everybody, we will catch you next time on Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.